What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And we've got some breaking news involving another AFC contender. The Baltimore Ravens are waiving wide receiver Diontae Johnson. Adam Schefter of ESPN did report that there is a reasonable chance that Diontae Johnson could be claimed on waivers. And then Jeremy Fowler also followed up the Baltimore Ravens, announcing that they're waiving Diontae Johnson, stating that the relationship had it reached a point of no return between Johnson and the Ravens. It was clear from the day that Johnson got there that it wasn't going to work out. The Baltimore Ravens weren't giving him really any snaps at all, and he had even refused to come to the game, resulting in a one-game suspension from the team. He was told to go home from practice. It just was not working out, and so the only logical option at this point for the Ravens was to get rid of their dead weight in Diontae Johnson by waiving him. Now, the reason that I wanted to hop on real quick and talk about this is because, one, it impacts the Baltimore Ravens, who are another contender in the AFC, or they're at least going to be a dangerous team that you don't really want to see in the postseason. But this was supposed to be their big move to bolster their wide receiver core at the trade deadline, and it completely blew up in their face. But this was also a guy that a lot of Chiefs fans were wanting the team to go after at the trade deadline. Diontae Johnson was a name we talked about on my channel several times as a guy that the Kansas City Chiefs could potentially go after, because this was a player that they actually showed previous interest in over the offseason. It was reported that the Kansas City Chiefs tried to trade for Diontae Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the Steelers opted to send him to a team other than the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't want to help out the Chiefs, so they sent him to the Carolina Panthers, who are obviously in the NFC. And then the Panthers, of course, opted to trade Diontae Johnson at the trade deadline because they were a team that was going nowhere, and Diontae Johnson was a free agent after the season, so it only made sense for them to get an asset back for him, as they're not contending this year, but they were hoping to be a little bit more competitive when they originally traded for him. So it's been a little bit of a wild ride for Diontae Johnson, who is now going to be waived by the Ravens, and if he goes somewhere else, that will be his fourth team in less than a year, which is kind of crazy. But the thing is, Johnson was actually productive in Carolina, but for some reason it just didn't work out in Baltimore. So it's not all totally Johnson's fault. I mean, it's not necessarily like he wasn't working out in Carolina. It's just that the Carolina Panthers were not working out, so it only made sense for them to trade Diontae Johnson. So is this a guy that would potentially be worth bringing in for the Kansas City Chiefs? First of all, he would probably have to pass through waivers for the Kansas City Chiefs to sign him, because I'm not sure how much of his current contract they would be responsible for if they pick that up, and I'm not sure if they can afford it. But at the same time, if they could put in a claim, and they would actually have a pretty good chance of getting him, despite the fact that the Chiefs are at the very bottom of the waiver order. They actually would have a good chance of getting a guy like Diontae Johnson if they put in a claim, because it's not like non-contending teams are going to put in a claim for a guy who's about to become a free agent. It just would make no sense. But if you're a contender, you'd be inclined to put in a claim for Diontae Johnson. Now, some people are going to say, maybe we shouldn't be going after a guy that didn't work out with his other team due to off-the-field reasons. And I get that concern totally, but how many guys like that have we seen before that the Kansas City Chiefs bring them in, and once they get acclimated to the Chiefs culture and play under Andy Reid, who's a player's coach, they're able to turn their career around or become a productive player, or at least help the team. You know, Kadarius Toney's one. Ultimately, he didn't work out long term, but he made some plays during that 2022 Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl season that ultimately helped. Now, they gave up a big asset for him, so that's a little bit different. Diontae Johnson would cost almost nothing to bring in at this point. The question would just be, would it be through a waiver claim, or would it be if he becomes a free agent, passes through waivers, and then you bring him in for the absolute minimum. I did make that video about Clyde Edwards-Helaire the other day, stating that his release, I believe, does save them a little bit of money. And while that move was mainly made for them to bring back Hollywood Brown, who is returning from IR, there were definitely less expensive players that they could have released before CEH. So that was a little bit interesting to me as well, almost as if the Kansas City Chiefs may have seen this coming and may want to make a move on Diontae Johnson because, again, let's remember, there's predated interest between the Kansas City Chiefs and Diontae Johnson. They tried to trade for him from the Pittsburgh Steelers over the offseason. So I already know there's going to be debate from you guys about whether or not he would be a good fit for the Kansas City Chiefs, if his personality would be worth dealing with, and he certainly wouldn't be the first former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver to leave that organization and then just go completely downhill because of personality issues and off-the-field reasons and work ethic concerns. But he's extremely talented. He's been a very productive wide receiver throughout his NFL career. And personally, I would absolutely look into bringing in Diontae Johnson. I understand some people will not be in favor of that, but I would try to add him, and there's a few reasons for that. One, adding yet another talented wide receiver would be a good thing, especially because they're not getting Rashee Rice back this year. He was the final piece to that wide receiver room that the Kansas City Chiefs are missing. I know they brought in DeAndre Hopkins, and I know they're about to get Hollywood Brown back, but it was always the plan to have Rashee Rice in there. But Diontae Johnson is a guy that I think can play multiple wide receiver spots and would still make life a lot easier for Patrick Mahomes. I understand this wouldn't be offensive line help, and everyone's like, offensive line, it doesn't matter. We need offensive linemen. Well, guess what? There's not really any offensive linemen out there available that are going to be able to help you at this point in the season. But Diontae Johnson could certainly help. I mentioned this with Hollywood Brown, but if you get a wide receiver in here who can beat man coverage and beat it quickly or get open quickly, then that's another option on the offense for Patrick Mahomes to go to, get the ball out quickly, and so he's not taking so many hits despite the bad offensive line. Yeah, the Kansas City Chiefs probably aren't going to be able to add any offensive line help at this point in the season, but that shouldn't stop you from adding wide receiver help if it's available. Anything to help this offense out. I mean, this offense, quite frankly, has not been very good this year. And bringing in another talented wide receiver for the stretch run of the postseason, I think that can only help you. It's not like Diontae Johnson is going to be here long enough to cause problems or be a locker room cancer that sinks the team. I think all that stuff's overblown. The Kansas City Chiefs have handled personalities like that very well over the years and at least have made it to where they're not a problem. I don't think Diontae Johnson would be a problem here. And if he is, hey, you can just cut him again. Like, there's no risk involved because it's not like you're paying him a bunch of money, and you can just cut him if he doesn't work out here. And there's not that much of the season left anyway. Yet another guy that can take the load off of Travis Kelce and DeAndre Hopkins, who are a little bit older. I just think that's huge, and that would be a benefit of bringing in Diontae Johnson. Just another weapon, and Brett Veach has been aggressive this year in adding weapons, and I think this is definitely a move that he's going to consider. When you're going for a three-peat, you have to exhaust all possible avenues to make the team better, especially when you've dealt with as many injuries as the Chiefs have. Again, you're not getting Rashee Rice back, but Diontae Johnson is right up there with Rashee Rice in terms of talent. He's not going to come in here and be Rashee Rice or replace him, I don't think, but he certainly could give you a little bit of what Rashee Rice could have, and obviously you're not getting him back this year, so I would love to see the Kansas City Chiefs add another weapon, and I would trust this organization to handle Diontae Johnson's personality. So those are my thoughts, but I want to hear from you guys. Would you be in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs bringing in Diontae Johnson, or are you not touching that? I want to hear from you guys. So leave your opinion down in the comments below, but with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this, and make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. And I'll see you all in the next one. As always, go Chiefs!